Yes, Chef.
With Ryan.
When we travel overseas, one of the main things we want to experience is the local cuisine, and that is what Chef Ryan is here to talk about every single week, be it an ingredient or a special dish here in Korea. Our global chef is in the studio. Good morning, Ryan. You're already eating. What is that crunch in your mouth?
Oh, it's so good.
What is it? That's not what we're talking about today, is it?
It's associated with it. I'm not totally off topic here. How you doing, Peter?
I am very well. You've got to turn on the video radio if you can, as long as you're not driving.
That's good.
Because we have the camera with the close-up of the ingredients we're talking about. What Chef Ryan was just munching on is a marinated chili pepper.
Yes, this recipe is often done with Korean chilies, but I did this with some from the farm.
Okie dokie.
And, it's really good.
In some soya sauce, almost like some jalapenos, right?
Jangachi.
Jangachi.
Yes.
So it's still got the crunch and it's still quite raw in there.
Yes.
Despite being...
Yes, not boiled, but like a soy sauce pickle, if you will, which basically is what we're talking about today with our theme ingredient.
Which is prawns or shrimps, or 새우 is the family here in Korea, right?
That's it.
Okay, fantastic.
These are caught right off the west coast of Korea right now.
Right now they're in season. These big prawns, right?
You don't get them alive every time of year. This is the time. There's a festival out there by, like Anmyeongdo.
Yeah.
That peninsula on the west coast is really pretty. I used to always go out there camping with a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. Nice beaches. And they'll catch these guys and they show up in the market. Usually it's September is the peak season. And these poor guys, I picked them up live and then put them into this soy sauce pickle, just like you do. We've talked about kanjang kejang.
Yeah, the marinated crab.
Right. This is the same thing, but with the shrimp. Your chair's taller than mine.
Yeah, everyone's commenting on that this week. For the new season, it's the new season, by the way, this week. Not that much has changed for our corner. I've decided to use a new chair, which is the one that usually sits in the corner, is unloved because it's falling apart. But the plus side is it's quite high. But it makes all the guests feel small, so I'm very, very sorry. But I'm being selfish.
A booster seat?
Yeah, perhaps I'll bring my son's little car seat. You can sit on that.
There you go.
But we were talking about crabs yesterday with Alex in Travel Buff, because we went down to Seocheon as a travel destination, which is down in Chungcheon-namdo province, a bit further south from Amyeongdo.
Right.
And apparently they have a lot of fresh crabs there. So one of our listeners, Zana from Malaysia, was saying, does that mean today's ingredient is going to be crab? We're not far off. We're talking about prawns.
Shellfish.
Yeah, shellfish. Are these the ones that we did last year, Ryan, that we call, is it teha?
This is deha.
Deha.
Right.
Okay, so in Korean, they make some distinctions between certain prawns and shrimps, right?
Right.
So the deha are the bigger ones, are they?
Yes. There's also the gotseu, which is a redder color, and they're smaller.
Yeah.
And they're often eaten just live on the streets.
Chomp off their heads and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to like a street vendor that has a tank right in it behind. I'm not even sure how they do this, if they leave the tanks there all the time and then wheel the carts out and back, but there are some famous streets in Seoul where you can sit down at like a cart and they'll fish these live, a smaller variety of local shrimp. Yeah. But the really red ones, they'll fish them right out of the tank. And pretty much just kind of half peel them and hand them to you with a little bit of soy, and it's still moving. Yeah. And you gotta like get it before it flips out of your hand.
Oh, but it is delicious. I never had raw prawns or raw shellfish, shrimp, I should say, before I came to Korea. Okay. Especially none that were alive at the time of eating. And the first time I went was maybe 2009, 2010 to Seorepogo, which is a port near Incheon. And in September, right now, peak season, loads of the restaurants are just serving bucket loads of those shrimp alive, and they're all kind of jumping about, and you just grab one out, rip off its head.
Oh, it's so good. It really is. And before I came to Korea, I might have been a little bit nervous to just munch on a live shrimp, or even to do a recipe like this, because I grew up being a little bit more nervous about shellfish because it does turn so quickly.
Sure, it can go bad. Yeah.
But Here they've got these amazing processes to make things like this. And I've gotten over those fears. And
and
enjoy these so much.
It really does stop it from going bad quickly, doesn't it? What we're going to talk about today's dish. Before we get to that, then teha that we're talking about today, is that like a king prawn in English or?
Fleshy prawn, is that correct?
A fleshy prawn, because it looks like the meaty one, doesn't it?
Boy, they are. They're really good.
Yeah, and you can get these as well. I've seen some places, especially the pork places, do these live as well. It's a little bit trickier to get off the head because they're quite big. It can sound a bit morbid and cruel, but once you taste it, I don't know.
Well, okay,
let's
talk about that just a little bit because often the way to enjoy seafood here is kind of showing how fresh it is.
Yeah.
You put the clams right on the grill.
Yeah, they're alive.
You might do the shrimp right on the hot salt pan,
and you put on the lid and they're still jumping about.
And they're jumping all about. But culturally, imagine that. I mean, if you want to know that your seafood is safe and is really fresh, that's how you know. Yeah. And you see that all across Asia, but we don't see that very often in the West.
No. And you're right. That's the cultural reason, to make sure you're getting something fresh with no germs or bacteria. Exactly. You need to show and prove that it's alive. Yeah. Exactly. So there is a functional reason. It's not just let's do this as a circus act.
Right.
Plus, it tastes really different when it's raw and alive.
It does. We've talked about that a little bit before with sashimi or hui here. In Japan, things are often like just barely frozen and then thawed and buried, and it totally changes the texture. Here in Korea, it's more enjoyed when it's fresh out of the tank.
Yeah.
And it's got this different texture. It is a different element.
Yeah, because when you cook prawns, number one, they're a completely different color as well. Like the meat goes completely white, with the little orange bands on the outside. Here you can see the day, if you're watching on Video Radio, they're kind of a gray color.
Right.
And that's with the skin on. So we're going to peel the skin off and show you what's inside. But even that is kind of a translucent gray. But what you've done here then is marinate them in a soy sauce based mixture, right? So talk us through that recipe to do this while you're peeling them.
Sure. You've got soy and you've got some water, and then you put a little bit of the kelp, the dried kelp, the dashima in there. Okay. And then there's other ingredients, something to sweeten it up. Some people use sugar. I prefer to use like apple or maybe Asian pear.
Okay.
There's definitely ginger slices. Imagine you've got the soy, onion, apple slice, then maybe some leek slices, garlic, ginger. Then you want to heat it up a little bit with some fresh chilies, and then give it more background with some dried chilies. Often you'll throw in some dried dates, the Korean dried dates, and that gives a little bit of sweetness in the foreground, but then also gives a background because it's a dried ingredient that gives depth, and all that comes together into this kind of stock or broth. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of vinegar in there. Definitely some alcohol gets put in, like some rice wine, and that just helps get all the flavors to meld together faster.
Yeah.
You heat that up for about 20 minutes, kind of bring it to a boil, but
without the prawns in it.
Without the prawns in it. But then you've got to chill it all the way down because this is not cooking them at all. This is kind of brining them.
Sure.
And once you do that, you leave them in there for a day. Then you've got to take it out.
Do you put them in live?
I did.
Okay. And then you leave them in there for a day?
Yeah, then you feel a little, I was like, oh, miyane su.
Hopefully, they don't feel too bad. Ryan's just munched on one. And then what you said is you take it out the next day and you boil that stock, which already is killing the germs with its salinity and whatnot. But then you just make sure all the bacteria is killed by boiling it up, bringing it down cool and putting the prawns back in. Was that good?
That's pretty good.
You're making me very jealous now, so I'm going to have to peel my own. So that's the background behind boiling it, right? Is to kill the germs in there one more time.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting technique. Like, I've never seen it in any other country. But when you take that broth away and heat it up to a boil and then chill it back down, then yes, you have sterilized that flavor, that marinade. It goes back on the shrimp. You do that 2 or 3 days in a row, and you're left with this amazing, amazing food. I have to confess, I only had time to do this for 2 days. So it's not completely, inside.
Yeah. Usually it would be quite salty inside, right?
Right. And plus, I didn't bring rice with it today, so it's kind of, normally this is something that you would eat with quite a bit of rice because it's kind of salty. This one's not very salty.
And the name of this dish then is 간장 새우?
Right.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay, so like soy sauce prawn, literally translated. Look how amazing that looks. You might have seen a similar version of this in some Japanese sushi restaurants, right?
장새우.
Well, they'll cut it down the middle and just put it on top of the rice, and that's one of my favorites as well.
I think
let me give this a try.
Yeah, try to get a little chili with that too, if you can. Try to get a little piece of the chili.
No, so good. Oh.
I found
it's so creamy when it's raw.
I can't believe you like this and you don't like tofu and you don't like tomatoes and you don't like cucumbers.
Yes,
and...
it is an odd palate that I have, but when it is raw, it's got that kind of, what do you call it? Chew to it that is quite a pop, when you bite into it the first time. But as you chew, it gets really creamy. It's amazing. Really it's like, I don't know.
Tissue here, brother. There you go.
You could feel like you could almost spread it on something, but when you bite into it, it's a real pop and a real muscle almost, it feels like. But that creaminess is something you don't get once it's cooked. Like, it can get a bit dry when you cook a prawn and you eat it.
If you cook it wrong.
If you overcook it, right?
What you want to do with shrimp if you're cooking them is hot and fast. Okay. Hot and fast.
And then keep it a little bit, not raw in the middle, but definitely not overcooked.
Sorry, give me a moment.
You can hear that as well in Ryan's mouth. That is all kind of popping in there, but then it gets really mushed down into this creaminess that has got a little bit of saltiness to it, a little bit of spice with the chili peppers. Oh, this is one dish that I really do recommend. And I can understand how, from the way it looks, you're looking at this dish, it's raw shrimp with the heads peeled off now. It doesn't look like a dish that you might jump at and say, yes, I want to put that in my mouth. But the taste, the flavour is so unbelievable. Very different to anything I've ever had.
Well, and, I guess we should also mention this isn't probably an incredibly traditional Korean dish. I think this one's popped up just in the last maybe 30 years or so. The kanjang with the crabs, of course, has been around for a very long time as a way to preserve crabs and be able to enjoy them, later on. But this is just so good. I think it's exploded across the country because you can find it. There are parts of Seoul where there's a bunch of restaurants only serving this. Yeah,
you can get it on like a big dish and they're all kind of put around the outside and you enjoy it like that. Compared to the crab, I think... I'm not sure. I like both really a lot, but the crab is much more like mushier. Whereas this has that kind of bite to it when you first bite into it. The crab also gets a bit creamy, but a lot of the crabs are quite small and you've left it in there for sometimes weeks and like that.
Well, one thing about all of these is it's really hit or miss. Some people have a really amazing recipe and they get the timing just right. But if you have one and you're like, trust me, that's not the good one.
Yeah.
Because I've never met anyone that's tried the ones that I will present to them at my favorite restaurant, or if I'm making myself and I think I've got it really good. I've never met anyone who tried those and didn't like it, actually.
Yeah.
So
just keep going trying, until you get a good one, and then with a bowl of steaming rice, that's all you need, basically, right?
Yeah, the rice thief
to balance it out. That's what it's called in Korea. This and the kanjang, the rice thief, like you said, because it just makes you eat a lot of rice to balance out the saltiness. So good, Ryan. Thank you for coming in with this. We're going to come back in part 2, maybe talk a little bit more. Ryan is sucking out the insides of the head now as we speak, and we'll do some of your delicious recipes with whatever you've got in your fridge, listeners out there, so do let us know. It's time for some Chunjin featuring Eric. This is Wow Wow Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm sure they were singing about these kanjang hills, Ryan. That is wow, wow, wow. It's the only thing that's coming out of my mouth. It's so good. This is the best thing you've brought into the studio for a long time, Ryan. And I'm not saying that the other things are terrible, but it's really my favourite thing.
I cannot believe you like this so much and you don't like basic things like tofu.
Yeah, why waste your time on tofu when you can have raw prawns marinated in soy sauce?
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. Don't waste your calorie intake on other things like that. I adore these, and you're so right that now is the time to go, right? September. If you go a couple of months either side, then you're really losing the chance to eat them alive and fresh.
Right, and yeah, you can have them cooked too, you know?
Yeah.
There's great steamed shrimp here. Grilled over the salt.
That grilling over the salt, does that add some saltiness to it? Because it seems a bit weird. The salt is like on the pan, it's baking hot. You put the prawns on there, it only really touches their skin. Does it get a chance to actually get in there, the saltiness? What is the point of that?
It does. You know, in Brazil, when you season a huge piece of meat and put it on the churrasco, you know, on the grill.
Yeah.
You cover it in rock salt.
Okay.
And then when it's done, you hit it and the rock salt falls off.
Okay.
And the salt that it needed, it is taken on.
Oh, I see.
And so you could look at it that way, like the shrimp have taken on, because that's rock salt. It's not like fine salt.
Yeah.
It's going to be stuck to the shell.
Chunks. Yeah.
Right. So they've just kind of taken on what they could with the moisture they had. Mm-hmm. It does make the shell nice and dry, which makes it come off pretty easy.
Sure, it just kind of flakes off. Yeah.
Right. And then it's definitely hot and fast. I mean, they're going in there live and just popping around. I always feel a little guilty when I see it, but we don't usually leave any uneaten.
No,
either, so
they're delicious as well. If you're not a fan of the raw version, many of the kanjang restaurants will also serve that as an alternative. Like you can have them in the pan with the rock salt on the bottom.
It's good too.
And then you can also just dip those in a bit of the soy sauce marinade.
Right.
And that's a good way to finish it off. That is what we have been talking about today. A couple more messages, I should say, in relation to these prawns. Siska from Indonesia says, happy Tuesday. I'm so happy you're still with us for the new season, Ryan. So am I.
Oh, thanks.
The most delicious corner on #DailyK. Prawns are one of my fave and my mum's as well. So yummy. I have it in my fridge at this moment as well. That's a coincidence. We have a favourite dish with prawns here in Indonesia, and I don't know what the English name for the nuts are. They're green and have an awful smell, but people love it a lot. It's called petai here in Indonesia.
Oh, of course.
Green with an awful smell, a nut. I can't think what that is either. But the prawn dish name is sambal goreng udang petai. It's spicy but yummy, and prawns in Indonesia are known as udang.
Oh, I bet you there's a bunch of coriander or cilantro in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be good, right? I think goreng maybe means rice, doesn't it? Nasi goreng is some kind of rice dish. I may be wrong. Annie from Singapore says, I love prawns. The recipe sounds delicious. I'm curious about the taste. But Peter, after describing it, you're making me salivate. I want to try that creamy tasting prawn with a pop. That's the best way I can describe it. It doesn't taste like cream sauce or carbonara or anything like that. It's just that texture. It kind of almost melts after you've got through that pop. It's amazing, isn't it?
I should have brought more.
You should have brought some rice as well, and we could have had lunch outside, me and you, Ryan, have a little picnic. Now, after talking about these prawns, don't forget that you can see this video. We upload it onto YouTube each and every week. All you need to do is type in Arirang Radio, Yes Chef, and you can see our back catalogue of things as well. Removing the shell from a raw prawn is not too difficult, is it? It kind of just pops off in the middle of these tawas, at least, because they're quite big.
The only time it's difficult is if they're still flopping around. Really, peeling shrimp's pretty easy. It just takes a little bit of practice, maybe.
Yeah.
There's different styles
of peeling it.
Yeah, one old chef friend of mine, she saw me peeling a bunch of shrimp, and she said, No. And she likes to use a knife, a paring knife, down the back side of the prawn. Of course, pull off the head. Hit it with a paring knife along the back.
Yeah.
What you're doing then is you can take the shell off without pulling on the legs.
Yeah.
And you've butterflied and deveined it at the same time.
Ah.
So she's right, but Miss Janet, she is right, but my way, I'm just so used to it, and it's hard for me to change. And that is kind of more the old school. Pull off the head.
Yeah.
Pull off the first few legs.
Yeah.
And then the shell comes off pretty easily from there. Then the last few parts here, you can see how that all came out as one.
Yeah.
That you just kind of pinch the tail and pull it.
Yeah. Pull out the meat.
Right, okay. Right. And then, but then it is harder. There's this other little bit of meat right here in the tail. You see the tail has 3 parts.
Yeah.
Or kind of 4, actually. And then if you get it just right, it's always really gratifying if you can just pinch it just right and you get that very bottom tail meat too.
Oh, just like out of a lobster. Yeah, it's almost that little tiny straggly bit. I never get that out because what I do is I peel it right the way down to the tail. And so I don't pull the meat out. I just hold the tail bit and then eat it from there. Sometimes I'll crunch off a little bit of the skin as well because it's not too bad. I don't know about raw though.
I never ate the shells before coming to Asia, but definitely I'm not afraid to eat. I mean, I'll fry up the shrimp heads now and munch on the tails. And
the shrimp heads are good as well. When we're talking about the salt on the pan, then they get really crispy and you can just really just eat them easily. I think raw like this, it would be pretty tough to eat that head, wouldn't it? It's got that spiky thing on it as well. I'm not sure if I'd try that.
I'm not even using chopsticks anymore.
You just go for it. Knock yourself out while I let everyone know who's watching us on YouTube that if you want to keep up to date with the latest news, culture, and everything else about Korea, there's #DailyK every single day, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. KST on Arirang Radio. So check us out here. Now, Ryan, it is time to move on to what's in your fridge. We've got a few bare fridges. We've got a few full fridges as well. Are you going to finish and let us know some good recipes that we can try? Or do you want some more time? Do you want to eat some of the skin? No? Have you finished that whole dish now?
Yes.
You do realise I had one?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, next time I'll bear that in mind, okay? And I'll eat everything.
I'll bring you more next time, I promise. I really thought you were going to like this. I thought this was something that was just going to freak you out. I forgot.
That's just excuses. I ate one, told you I liked it, and you still kept eating them.
I understand this guy. I really don't understand.
Go for it. Who have we got?
All right, Audrey. Hello, Audrey. You've got a great fridge here. We've got prawns and chicken breasts and duck gizzards and tomatoes, sweet peppers, some pimentos, onion, garlic, fresh coriander, endives. Are you familiar with endives?
I've seen them in a children's book. I've never tried them. Sorry.
All right, lime, passion fruit, some grapes, bananas, mango, coconut, milk, and some yogurt and some gorgonzola.
Wow, that is an impressive fridge.
That is a nice fridge. And what I want to go with here today, Audrey, is duck gizzards. Let's use that as our protein first. Okay?
What is the gizzard again for our listeners out there?
Well, that's that part in the duck that makes it so delicious.
The bit at the bottom, is it? The bottom end?
Yeah, well, I believe it's the part that helps grind up the food for it,
It like squeezes it together, so it can be quite a tough thing, can't it?
It can, but it also is packed with flavor.
Okay.
So it's great with to flavor stock or something, but in this case we're gonna make sausage. So let's chop up that gizzard really, really fine. Okay. Get the garlic and a little bit of the onion in there and plenty of salt. But now let's make it a little funky. Let's get some lime zest in there. Zest that lime. Then what I want to do is cook that, okay?
Yeah.
All together. If you've got, let's see. Okay, yeah. So duck gizzard finely minced, garlic, onion, salt, maybe a little black pepper in there. Then the lime zest in there to get it a little different, do something a little different. Cook that together. And then you could put that sausage then in the little endive leaves and chop up fresh coriander and kind of mix it with it before you drop it into the endive leaves, and then squeeze some of that lime juice across the top, and you'll have these awesome little bites with the purple endive color, then the sausage, then the coriander in there, and then a squeeze of lime on, and then the bitterness in the endive will balance out with the sour and sweetness from the lime.
With the minced gizzard and all that there as well.
That would be just awesome. That's what I would want to do with your fridge.
I've never tried a minced gizzard because they sell the chicken gizzards here. It's quite a popular thing, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
And a lot of times I've seen it. It's fried, I think, with garlic, and it can taste pretty good. But having it minced, I guess that would take away that kind of
it's
really
so
chewy texture.
Right. And if your fridge had maybe some more duck, I would say maybe chop up some of that. I'll usually take the heart and the lungs too and do that.
Really?
Yeah, most people don't know that when you buy a duck, the lungs are probably still there. You just don't notice. And that maybe sounds strange to people, but trust me, if you try it, it's really awesome. And why waste any part of the animal? You know?
This is true. There's lots of flavour in those innards as well, right? Thank you very much, Ryan and Audrey, for that brilliant fridge.
You could do something similar with the prawns too. Just swap out the gizzards for the prawns. Of course, cook them really hot and fast. And then get them into the endive leaves and they'll squeeze a lime on top as well. That would be awesome too. I want to see pictures of that one.
Talking of prawns and pictures, Ryan, you remember earlier we heard from Siska about the sambar goreng udang petai. This is that dish that actually Zana in Malaysia has posted up a photo of. Thank you very much.
Sweet and spicy.
Yeah,
and,
still with the skins on as well, it looks like, with the shells. So maybe you just eat the shells or do you spit them out? Because those look like the smaller prawns where it's fine to eat the shells.
Sure,
right?
sure,
Oh, it looks so good. Thank you very, very much. And goreng does not mean rice, it means fry. Okay, so close but no cigar.
All right, and then we've got another fridge here. Night Ninja is
scraping the barrel a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we've got perilla leaves, cheese, my guess is it's sliced cheese in the plastic wrap.
No.
Slices. That's what I'm guessing. Because the other ingredients in the fridge are milk, rice, kidney beans, kimchi, not sure which kind of kimchi, and then curry sauce. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
Can you do anything?
This may
here,
be the
right?
saddest fridge we have ever seen.
Yeah,
on the
it's
program.
even having the gennib in there, the perilla leaves, kind of makes it sadder for some reason. Although that's a good ingredient to have, isn't it?
Wow. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. If this was my fridge.
Yes.
If I was forced to do something with this, goodness. I'm thinking the ingredients that might mesh the best together would be the catnip, the rice.
Yeah. Okay. There's a good start. The perilla leaves and the rice,
and the kimchi, of course. Maybe the curry sauce. Okay. Let's get creative here to make it more fun. Take the kimchi leaves, if you've got nice bigger leaves, and let's wash them under cool water.
Okay, to get off a bit of the spice.
Pat them dry. Well, then I know the texture and the flavor better.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of kimchi this is otherwise. Wash it, pat them dry, and then take a leaf of catnip. Okay, lay it on there. Then take some of the rice. And even maybe not the cheese. Okay,
Hey, it's not a bad combination of cheese kimbap.
It depends on what kind of cheese it was. Brie and kimchi actually goes fairly well together.
Really?
It kind of works.
Even the processed cheese and kimchi isn't bad together, right? Seriously.
Okay.
Have you not seen the processed cheese on the sushi as well on top of it?
God,
it's not that bad.
No, I can't take it. All right, but you're with me though. Here, what I'm thinking is we make like a deep fried. I don't see oil here. You probably don't have any oil, but you could shallow fry it and just kind of roll it in the pan. But roll up the leaf and the kimchi and then the rice and a little bit of the curry sauce inside could be cool.
Yeah.
Leave the cheese out. Roll that up. And then you can kind of pan fry it, roll it around. Because if you've got really sour kimchi and you pan fry it, you know that flavor is just amazing.
Oh yeah.
And that combined with the perilla leaf, it just comes together really nice.
And it'd be a bit crispy on the outside if you fried it like that. Oh.
And then the rice for some more sustenance, because we don't usually just eat kimchi by itself.
You could put kidney beans in the rice, no? That's like a kind of kongbap, no?
Maybe if you cook them, added enough salt and then mashed them and then laid that down, kind of like almost like a refried kidney bean. That might work. And texturally, it's kind of weird for me. So.
That doesn't sound that bad at all, but I'd say Night Ninja, put in the cheese, deep fried with a bit of melted processed cheese. It's going to add something, Ryan, despite your chef instinct saying
Whenever I see that sliced cheese melted over the sushi.
Yeah, that's weird. But a lot of places do it, don't they?
Yes, even the nice conveyor belt places that have some talent. Yeah. I'm like, what are you guys thinking about? Okay, to each their own. Okay. No judgment.
And a quick 1-minute recipe for Siska's fridge here, Ryan. She has got some tofu. She did make the tofu katsu, I think. But I'm also... Cool. I've got the tofu, and then I've also got the prawns, green beans, carrots, water pumpkins, the small green one, corn, melon, papaya, eggs, and milk. Is there anything you can do for me, Ryan? I am sorry, she says. We got prawns, so come on, let's do the prawns, because we've got prawns today. Can we do something with the green beans, carrots, water pumpkin?
Of course. I mean, and Siska's no stranger to stir fries. I mean, all those kind of things, and sweet elements, and of green beans, you get the crunch there. The prawns just always hot and fast.
With a bit of salt and pepper or something?
Of course.
Yeah, okay, there's always some seasoning.
You're learning.
Okie dokie. And then you've just got a delicious fresh dish there, right?
That works. What were all the fruits that she mentioned?
Melon, papaya.
Okay. Those wouldn't be my first choices to pair with shrimp. But I haven't ever tried that, so let us know what you come up with, Siska. I'm curious.
I don't really like melons, but the other day I just let them go, not moldy, but a bit like... I left them in the fridge for ages. Yes, extra soft. That's a good way to put it. And then I just blended them with no extra water, and that makes an amazing smoothie just by itself with nothing else. It's brilliant.
They get super sweet when they're overripe.
Yeah, so good. Ryan, thank you so much for bringing in those prawns and for eating them on air. It was like a proper mukbang today. We will see you again next week with another ingredient.
Awesome, dude.
Thank you very much. Okie dokie, it's time for some Haze featuring Dean. This one is Shut Up and Groove.